This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Greiner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boatyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's Your Choice Family Restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Try the John Bain sandwich on your next visit. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snowblowers. B&B Propane and the family of jet stops. CW Tree Trimming, LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area, and we offer a senior citizen and veteran discount. Dutch Market and Coffee Talk of Washington, Iowa. Dutch Market can handle all of your grocery needs. They even have a conference room that you can use for free. Coffee Talk's drive-thru is open and ready to serve you coffee, energy drinks, sandwiches, baked goods, and ice cream. They all present the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. I'm standing outside of the Mount Pleasant Public Library in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. I met with candidate for the Henry County Attorney's Office, Becky Wilson. Becky shares why she wants to be the Henry County, Iowa attorney and why you should vote for her in the upcoming June 2026 primary and then the November 2026 general election. Thanks to the Mount Pleasant Public Library for loaning us use of their genealogy room. Becky, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Now, it's more than a rumor, it's true. You want to run for county attorney of Henry County, Iowa, and you're on the podcast to talk about that, but I'd like you to just kind of let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So we live in Winfield, my husband and I, and it feels like home because I grew up in a town, Dow's, in north central Iowa, and it was about that same size.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with small town living, and it's a short drive to Mount Pleasant for whatever you need, or Washington or Burlington. So it's a nice central location. We're enjoying it.
It's a nice little town, Winfield.
It is, and I'm impressed with how much is going on there for such a tiny town.
They've got quite the golf course, the swimming pool, the historical society. Mm-hmm. They've got a food pantry there. They got a lot going on.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So, what on earth would want you to be the county attorney of Henry County? Just kind of give us a little background. Why you're qualified, but also why in the world would you want that job?
Well, I have practiced as a lawyer. I was going to say one area law, but I've done several. Started out as a paralegal down when we were living in Texas and came to Iowa, finished up my degree, and I've worked in 18, I think I counted it correctly, different counties in the state of Iowa, from Charles City up in Floyd County down to Cerro Gordo County, then to Iowa Falls, and now here. So I've been able to see how a lot of different judges handle their courtrooms, how different county attorneys handle their offices, small offices, big offices. And I guess coming to Winfield and living here, it didn't take long before I'd start hearing concerns and problems and frustrations and a lot of unhappiness and discontent amongst not only the public, but law enforcement officers as well, with the current situation at the county attorney's office. So I gave it a lot of thought and a lot of prayer and got my answer, and I'm taking the plunge.
You're taking the plunge. Now, you said 18 different counties.
Yes.
So that's a lot of moving around. How did that all come about?
Well, with rural counties, so like this here, Henry County and Washington, it's small. There aren't that many attorneys there. I do a lot of court-appointed work, and there's a shortage. So it's not uncommon to handle 5 or more counties at a time.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. I'm one of those inquiring minds. If I don't know, I have to ask. So with that experience and all that, I imagine you have seen a lot of different ways that counties are ran.
Yeah, yes, I have. I've not been involved in the running of it, but I've been an observer,
Mm-hmm.
and I've met the county attorneys and assistant county attorneys and talked to them and sat across the table from them in the courtroom.
Okay. Now, June 2nd of 2026 will be the primary election. Current Henry County Attorney Darren Stater is a Republican, and you are a Republican, so we have to have a primary to,
Mhm.
the voters need to decide if they want Mr. Stater to run against an opponent of Democrat or independent or whoever, or do they want him to retire and give you a chance?
Yes, that's going to be the first decision moment,
Mm-hmm.
unless Mr. Stater were to decide to run as a Democrat or independent. But if he continues on as a Republican, as I'm sure he will, because he always has, then we'll need to have a primary to see which one of us will get on the ballot.
Okay, so that would be June 2nd, and I'm just telling that right now for the audience. Put it out there on your calendars, folks. 2026 is not far away. And then the general election will be November 3rd of 2026. And I I know you're in the process. I've seen signs out, getting the word out. Have you
Yeah.
been going door to door or having town halls, or how are you meeting with people that you might get them to vote for you?
Well, I started even before I announced. I started visiting a few different community groups, like Rotary Club, a VA's group,
Mm-hmm.
a few different things. So it started with that. Since I've announced, I spoke at the VA or VFW breakfast
Okay.
in Mount Pleasant, just introduced myself there, and then now here with you.
Okay.
So I'm starting to schedule dates out with different groups that I will go visit. I've had a few inquiries on, wanting to get together with me to arrange dates.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I've noticed in covering Southeast Iowa and different counties, sometimes, and specifically sometimes county attorneys, have different ideas of what the hierarchy is in the county. So I'm kind of curious to hear from you, what is your perception of the hierarchy of Henry County government?
That's a good question.
Well, thank
I
you.
didn't prepare for that one.
Oh,
Thanks,
good.
John. Okay. Well, there is, of course, the Board of Supervisors, which is kind of the governing body. And that's just county-wide. If you go upstate, of course, you get different people in there. So as a county attorney, we're not directly employees of the Board of Supervisors, but I guess you might say this, they supervise.
They definitely handle the budget.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we report, the county attorney reports to the Board of Supervisors to let them know what's going on, what we're doing, how we're handling the money that they're allocating to us. So it's good to have a good working relationship. We're not always going to agree on things, I'm sure. But when you're in a position like this, you have to be able to talk to people, communicate well, be able to reach agreements without acrimony.
Gotcha. Now, if you, I shouldn't say when you get elected, that's not fair, but if you were elected, and the fact that the Henry County Board of Supervisors has a meeting every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. at the courthouse here in Mount Pleasant, is that something, if you're not in court, that you would be attending?
I would attend as often as I can, at least the first Thursday where each department reports. And then I also, if I know there's going to be something on the calendar that's going to involve or impact as a county attorney, then I would want to be there. Also, if they have questions, if they indicate we need someone there to answer questions, I would need to go to that. I can't promise I'll be there every Thursday. I don't want them to feel as though I'm micromanaging.
Right.
Because that we do kind of help with answering their questions. If they have legal questions, they would come to the county attorney's office, and I don't want to make them feel as if I'm, keeping an eye on them. But I do want to be available. Gotcha. To help when needed and to just be aware of what we're dealing with.
I've been covering Henry County Board of Supervisors basically since the whole wind turbine thing started back 18, 20 months ago, whatever. And I don't remember a time, I'd have to go back and look on the video, but I don't remember a time when the actual county attorney was ever at any of those meetings that involved that. One of his assistant was always there, it seemed like, basically telling the supervisors when they should talk and when they shouldn't and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And but I don't ever remember seeing the county attorney at that. So that's why I asked the question.
Well, I have been going several months trying to get there to, I made it to almost every one, not quite all, but the very first meeting I was at, there were questions about the budget, and they were allocating budgets, and he was there. He had his entire office in for that meeting.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, that's fair. And I wasn't there at that one, so that's my bad. You know, and that's another thing too. I know that the current Board of Supervisors is looking into making the meetings available online, so people can watch the videos later and such, and get caught up on what their elected representatives are doing. So, you know, maybe that'll help clear up some of that stuff in the future.
Might free up some of your time too then.
Yeah. You know, and that's one of the things. Once in a while, on counties that do that, I have used their video, but I always mention that I'm using their video and mention the source, because you're talking to a guy that there's a certain local newspaper here that's lifted my video before and actually taken screenshots and used them as photos in the newspaper. And then that reporter is taking credit for it and not giving me my due credit. And then I'd have to go talk to the publisher and get things squared away. And then they'd fix it on their website, but it's never fixed in the newspaper, except, you know, several weeks later in a small thing at the bottom right-hand corner of 2 or 3 pages in for clarification. And then they do what I would call a half-assed job in clarifying. But so anyway, yes, I just that's just a little pet peeve of mine. But anyway, we're here to talk about you. So tell us more of your thoughts on Henry County, the current state, and what your views are.
Okay, well, I can see that there's a lot of, not sure what word to use here, acrimony, unhappiness. There's a lot of dissension. The biggest issue that I see is that the relationship between law enforcement and the prosecutor's office is very broken. I've spoken with different law enforcement agencies, some deputies, policemen, various officers. I won't name specifics, just to find out how they feel about how things are going, what changes they would like to see. If I were to be the new county attorney, what would they like to see changed, or how would they like to see different things handled, so that we can work on repairing that relationship. And I've gotten some great feedback. But they're currently feeling very unsupported, very unheard. And with the whole Lopez and the decision coming down this week, that's kind of just a big example of something that's taking place on many different levels within the agencies, law enforcement agencies.
And basically that was Deputy Carlos Lopez won in district court, and to be removed from the Brady Giglio list that County Attorney Stater put him on. And basically, for folks that don't know what that is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on anything that I say, but it basically says that officer has a tarnished reputation and is not really allowed to testify in court or anything like that. They can do their job, but they've got this dark cloud over their head every single day of their life, whether they're on duty or not, and they're trying to do their job, and they've got this hanging over their head. Do I have it pretty close?
Pretty close, yes. Okay. Yes. So there's something called discovery in criminal matters, where the prosecutor is to turn over all the good, bad, indifferent evidence to the defense, so the defense can see what the state has got. And that would include if an officer's honesty or credibility has been questioned to where the county attorney believes that you can't always trust what this officer says. They put them on the Brady Giglio list. That's not technical language, but that's layman's terms. So then the officer could still testify. However, the defense would be able to say, but aren't you on the Brady Giglio list? Haven't you been determined to be less than completely transparent and honest. Can we trust your work? So that makes it very difficult for the prosecutor, for the defense to win over, the prosecution if they can just.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying this all wrong, but
the gist of it is, if someone's on the Brady Giglio list and you need their testimony, you're probably going to look for somebody else that can verify things before you would use that person.
Correct.
And so Deputy Lopez won.
He did.
And I believe the date of that, I was at the trial that day. I believe it was August 26, 2025. If not, just go back, folks that are watching and listening, and it's in my library. I got it covered that day. But I went through the process of going through the district media handler for court and getting approved to be there, and I had my lanyard on with my media credentials showing everybody, I'm John Bain with Southeast Iowa Today. There was a reporter from the Southeast Iowa Union there. There were a bunch of sheriffs, county sheriff representatives, and there were a bunch of citizens there, and all in support of Deputy Lopez that day. And we were all set to watch. I had my camera rolling, and they talked before the beginning of the trial, they being the judge and his folks and the county attorney and the assistant county attorney and the attorney for Deputy Lopez. And they come out, and the judge basically states that Mr. Stater doesn't want any of us in there because of certain evidence. And okay, we can understand that, but the attorney for Mr. Lopez, Gribble, I think, I'm trying to remember. Charles Gribble, he was like, hey, yeah, I don't want everybody in for this confidential evidence either, but I don't have a problem with them being here for the opening and closing remarks, which would give this information hunter here the opportunity to show a little more to the public that couldn't be there and get a little more feel for what was going on with the case and a little more understanding. But County Attorney Stater did not want that, so the judge basically sent us all out.
Yes, he did.
And so my question to you is, if you're in a scenario like that, will you give all of us the opportunity to at least hear the opening and closing remarks?
I anticipate so. I would hate to commit now and then have a fact situation that was, I can't even imagine what it would be right now, but I would certainly hope to be able to keep that open so that public can hear. I was there that day as well. So we all wanted to know. We wanted to at least get the gist, because there's not a lot of information we could get outside of that. Otherwise, we're all waiting for this ruling to really hear more about what the facts were and what's going on. I do want my office to be, if I get elected, my office to be as transparent as possible. Open for people to come in with proper security, of course, because we're prosecuting criminals, right? We got to be safe.
Right.
But have more of a, when the office is open, there will be set up a lobby area so people can come in. So I don't want to operate in secrecy.
Okay, well, that word transparency, a lot of people use it, and a lot of people have different definitions for it. So you've done a good job of explaining what you mean by that. And that, I mean, what I'm hearing, that leans more towards the true meaning of the word transparency. So thank you for sharing that. Illegal immigration. That's a big deal. One of the things that I've known from covering Mount Pleasant school board meetings, they have an English learner program where it has a pretty significant number, percentage-wise, of students that participate in that. I have no idea whether those students and their families are here legally or illegally, any of that. But me personally, I don't call people that come across the border without going through the proper channels immigrants. I call them illegal immigrants. Now, that being said, and my thoughts, what are your thoughts on illegal immigration? And, there's in every town right now across the nation, ICE is going through and cleaning up what the previous administration when they left our doors open in all of our borders. So what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I do a lot of work with juvenile courts, and we will often have these children. You mentioned schools, and I think of the little kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their fault they're in this fix.
No,
right?
not at all. Not at all.
So, yeah, schools, I definitely want, if they're there, educate them. But if mom and dad are getting sent back, the kids need to go too, so the family stays together.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen in my criminal defense work, sometimes these people are committing crimes. They are getting in trouble. And we've seen a great example up in Des Moines, where someone's undocumented and comes in and takes a great job that he isn't qualified for and works at it for a lot of years, where a citizen could have had that job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would support ICE, doing their jobs, and they need to be able to do their job safely as well, and not be under attack for following orders and upholding the law. That would be another law enforcement agency I would want to work with well and cooperate with well, and make sure they can do their jobs safely and in a way that honors and respects the people that are unfortunately getting caught,
Mm-hmm.
having to go back and try and do it the proper way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's talk eminent domain. I mean, we got all these people that these high business that want to use farmland to run pipelines for CO2 emissions and that sort of thing, and they need a path. And what are your thoughts on all of that?
They ought to be able to pay a decent price for what they're wanting to take. If they want to lay a line across my neighbor's backyard, then they're going to be interfering with their use of the land. And yes, we need to have utilities, we need to have services provided, but we need to not be just stealing people's property just because we can.
So if a situation came in Henry County, what would be like a county attorney's involvement in that? Do you have to wait till something is in place and rolling, so then you can put your hand up and say, hey, we need to look at this a little more and help slow things down? Or what? I don't know how it works.
There's a lot of things I've got to look into and learn more about.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers for all the situations right now, because I do need to. I've got a year to be working on gearing up. I've been gearing up some, working on it. Eminent domain is one of those areas I need to read into more.
Okay, that's fair and transparent. You're not leading me astray or the audience astray or anything. What is one of your most favorite things about Henry County, Iowa?
The friendliness of the people. Moving into Winfield was great because the people are just so welcoming and so friendly and so open. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful going somewhere where people strike up conversations in the aisles of the Walmart. People don't just pretend they don't see their neighbors. They're out walking together. They're out doing things together. They hang out at the parks.
And somebody that's watching or listening to this that is from Southeast Iowa or even Iowa in general or the Midwest, I think that's kind of a funny thing to have someone say, but there's parts of our great nation where people won't look at each other in the eye, and mm-hmm. they'll do everything in the world to try and avoid any kind of interaction.
Absolutely. Iowa nice is a real thing.
It is.
It really is. I lived a lot of years in Texas, and I could compare what so-called Southern hospitality in Texas versus Iowa nice. I'll take Iowa.
There you go. I say my daughter and son-in-law and grandkids live in Texas, but I always say, boy, I wish that we had more timber for you guys to cut, because they have a timber business. And I said, and then talk you into moving to Iowa. But anyway,
yeah.
But so I hear you. You. What would you like to get out to potential voters and taxpayers of Henry County, Iowa, that I haven't asked so far?
Oh, let's see. So I want to, I guess, protecting the citizens is just huge to me. And I've heard a lot of talk about how people don't feel safe because they've had crimes committed against them that were not prosecuted for whatever reason. charges were dismissed, they were pled down to practically nothing, and they don't feel safe, they don't feel protected. So I'd like to see more of a policy where crimes, if they need to be prosecuted, they are, especially those that are against vulnerable citizens, the elderly, the veterans, children, handicapped persons. But if someone hurts a vulnerable citizen, then they need to be held to account for that. And that's just what I aim to do.
Okay. Good. I mean, for the life of me, I don't understand why some individuals are not prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I understand plea bargaining.
Okay.
Because I work in criminal defense right now. And I know that if we did not have some sort of plea bargaining, the courts would be so clogged up and backlogged that if you wanted to get someone prosecuted, their trial date would be 5 years from now.
Wow.
And we can't have that. We need to keep things moving for the sake of law enforcement and the citizens as well. But that doesn't mean that you just toss out the case if,
right,
for whatever reason. You generally, what I've seen happen in the various 18 counties in the state of Iowa is you'd pick like the most serious charge, get them to plead to that and dismiss the rest. Or maybe go down just one level. Maybe go from a B felony to a C felony. And then dismiss the smaller charges, or maybe not even dismiss all of them, but some of them. If there is a charge and if I'm in office and there's like interference with official acts that involves our law enforcement officers being injured, then that needs to be one that doesn't get dropped. We can drop something else small. I could list off some, but I won't, because everybody's got their.
And I think about that, and I think, but gosh, that one small thing is a big thing to the person they did it to.
It is. But if the same person is pleading to something where they're going to be spending time in jail, then that's the ultimate aim. Get them off the streets, work on rehabilitation. That's another thing I should bring up as well, John, is that there are a lot of alternative courts or rehabilitative types of programs that I really want to look into and really look at what we have here and what we don't, so that we can reduce the recidivism. So it's not just that same person's coming back in again and again and again to court, but let's get them the help and the treatment they need so that they are no longer violating the law and can live a productive life.
That would be wonderful. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about all this is, I'm sure you've thought of this, so this isn't going to be like a question way out of left field. Why do we have so many people clogged up in the court system? Why do we have this? What is the real core reason that is getting these individuals into the part of our system that no one in their right mind would want to be a part of?
Mental health. We have a huge mental health crisis, and I'm not sure what all I can do about that as county attorney, but if I can, somebody give me some ideas, some guidance, and I'll see what I can do. But yeah, the alternative programs can help with a lot of that. Because if someone is abusing substances, they may be self-medicating a mental health condition that is not being managed. And that's how a lot of families wind up in child in need of assistance cases. Mental health issues that aren't being treated, so they treat with street drugs, and then they get to where they can't take care of their children properly. And here we have someone not only involved in criminal court for substance use, but also in danger of losing their children in a child in need of assistance case.
Right.
If we can get a family court, and I'm not sure if there is one here yet. I was just looking into that this afternoon, didn't find my answer yet.
Okay.
But I'd like to see a family court where the focus is on supporting these families, getting them the help that they need, getting them into treatment, making sure they have their needs provided. It's hard to focus on your mental health if you don't even have a bed to sleep in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So the family treatment court, much like drug court, it provides the support and the help that these people need to become productive citizens and have their families together.
I that was so refreshing to hear that from someone running for office. The fact that there is a mental health issue and a crisis in our nation, it's in our communities. I tell a lot of people these days, President Trump, one of the things that he won on was the fact that he's going to clean up the swamp in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that I get doing my podcasting thing and the more that I follow politics and the ins and outs of local city and county governments, I realize the swamp's right here. And my shoes are getting dirty, and I think in order for our nation's capital and the national politics to be cleaned up, that swamp, we've got to do it at the local level.
Mm-hmm. People are people.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
So the same issues we struggle with here in rural Iowa are happening in every corner of every other state and in all levels of government.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but some people, when they get in office, or I've seen it in the corporate world, they get into management, and then they don't think they have to work. They just have to make sure everybody else is working. But, when I was in management, I was working harder than just about everybody else. Yeah. And I was salaried, and the harder I worked and the longer I worked, the less money I was making. Because you amortize your hours of effort over what you're paid, and all of a sudden, that doesn't compute very good.
Yeah, I understand that. I do, yeah.
Well, so far, I'm looking at our counter here. We are at 29 minutes and 18 seconds of podcast excellence. It doesn't feel like we've been talking for a half hour.
No.
No. Is there anything else you would like to mention before I sign off?
Let's see.
Because I got one more question to ask you.
Okay.
But I don't want to do that until you have another chance.
Yeah, I know I have looked at specific cases that I've heard about where someone was not prosecuted or some charges were dismissed. Very heartbreaking situations. A motor vehicle accident that resulted in 3 people dying and 2 more being injured. And because the driver of a semi-truck that was under the influence also had health issues, it was decided not to prosecute him. Where it's sad that someone may be having terminal health issues, but there's a lot of families that had to deal with their insurance claims where there was no prosecution of the driver. So are you really telling me the truth? Are you really telling the insurance company the truth? And made their recoveries, financial and physical, more difficult.
And and I don't know all the ins and outs of what you just said, but hearing what I've heard, it's like, okay, all the more reason you shouldn't be driving the darn truck.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so selfish.
Yeah.
So selfish.
Yeah, I imagine he was probably highly emotional and upset, and also drunk and under the influence of
everybody's highly emotional and upset after the fact. They never mean to do it.
Right.
They never wanted to hurt anybody, but yet they do.
Yeah.
And they do, and it's aided by other things.
Yeah.
So
so that's just one case. There are several, but I don't want to get into all of that right now. I just want everybody to kind of get to know me.
Well, that's good, and that's the goal today. And I also want to stress, you reached out to me, and we reached out to each other, and I invited you to come on. I want to stress to anyone else that's running for any office in the county, but specifically for county attorney, and even to Mr. Darren Stater, if you would like to come on and sit down in the genealogy room of the Mount Pleasant Public Library here in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, I'd love to have you on. And I'm going to put up just over your shoulder my email address, and it is jbain. I got that wrong. It's bainjohnr@gmail.com. And for the folks that are just listening, B as in Batman, AINJOHNR@gmail.com if you would like to come on, or you can go on my Facebook page, Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain, and message me. So I just want to show people I'm being fair. And when someone says, why didn't you ask so-and-so? Well, why didn't so-and-so be a big boy or girl and contact me? So I'm putting that out there.
Okay.
So before we wrap up, I got one more question, and I think it'll be easy for you to answer. Here it goes. How many genders are there?
2.
That was very easy for you to answer. All right, well, we don't have to say anything else about that. So thank you for that, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, John.
Well, Becky Wilson answered all my questions, and she didn't tell me to stop recording or anything else. She wants to be your county attorney, Henry County. Hopefully this helps you in your decision-making process. Please make sure to share this podcast episode with everybody you know, so they can be a well-informed voting group. Thanks to Becky Wilson for being on today. Thank you for watching. Thanks to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming LLC, Dutch Market, and Coffee Talk. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.